Indeed, I'm one of the very few privileged to have had a good life throughout my 60 years plus. And only in the last 7-8 years, by mere coincidence, I found that I had a condition known as CLL. Prior to that and post diagnosis, nothing of material has changed in my life apart from the shock that there is a disease within my system. I've been active, working as a dentist for over 30 years, have 3 grown-up children, all healthy, alhamdulillah. CLL is one of the many types of blood cancers. It was about 8 years ago, working as a dental surgeon, we have to regularly give blood tests to make sure that we are healthy, because we work with a lot of sharp instruments and chances of us to get infected is there also. So 8 years ago, I just going to Dar es Salaam, I left my blood sample at the hospital. Upon my return, there was an envelope at home. I didn't think much of it. I read it once, so you have to go and review or see something. After a few days, I reread the letter and said you have to see a specialist hematologist, and red bells or alarms started coming up. So I phoned my GP and I said, I've got this letter. He said, yes, your blood tests have shown some abnormality. Fair enough. At that time, I didn't know of any diagnosis. Went to the hospital and met a very, very caring consultant, Dr. Aito, and the examination took about 1 hour. Now that worried me. And I asked him, is it NHS, is it private? He said, no, it is NHS and we want to thoroughly examine you. He examined me, took my history, non-smoker, healthy person, no overweight, no alcohol, nothing of that sort. And he told me that I am suffering, or I have blood abnormality known as CLL, and it's a blood cancer. When he said that, I turned pale. I just nodded my head. Being in a medical profession or dental surgeon, we knew a few things about blood cancer, but not. And for the next 30 minutes, I was as good as out. I didn't understand anything he said. I just nodded. Anger was there. I did not agree to the results. And Professor Aito was kind enough. He said, right, we can send samples to different labs, which they did. Because I said, no, this is not my blood. I refused. I categorically refused. And when the 4 samples came back, it was me. And the thing started saying, okay, what next? Thought of children, thought of afterlife, preparation, and then you find, wow, how unprepared one is for the world hereafter. Then he put me through a few tests. I had to go in the next few weeks. There's bone biopsy, there's blood tests, there's phenotype, there's lots just to ascertain, because there's so many categories of this disease. The thing that worried them was that CLL is not found in Asian community. Mainly is in the European denomination. So they were just wondering, and I thought, well, maybe my great-grandparents came from some Vikings or somewhere in the Scandinavian. Having said that, they advised me that after my test results, maybe I went for CT grams, they put iodine in my body, they refined my bone from the pelvis, they took lots of blood tests, and they came out that I had one sub known as DEL14, is deletion, a part of a chromosome. I won't talk much medical on it, but that is it. And 40% of the people have deletion 14 on a chromosome. So when they told me, I started reading more about CLL, but it was just reading and under panic mode, not knowing. But as I learned, and I would say it is one of the kindest form of blood cancers, because one could live a happy life or a good, decent life for many, many years without having any intervention. Having said that, there was anger within me, there was denial. The first year was very, very tough. I would say suicide thoughts don't come, but you go through depression, just say, why me? and didn't know. And my children were more concerned than me because they were worried. Oh, as a father figure, the security, it was tough. The first year was very, very tough. But then I guess you come out of it, you look at the positives, the life is good, you have health, and you keep the momentum going. Once this first year phase passed, and then you start thinking, okay, what next? They gave me 3 options that either if I wanted to do serious treatment, I could literally, they could drain out all the blood into my body, from my body. So I would be 4 to 6 years life in the air, and then they could infuse new blood, plasma and tissues if I hadn't wanted that, but that was not necessary. The universities in America, there is one hospital which does, and they have a flat charge of $150,000. So I already kept that on the side then, 7 years ago, saying that if nothing is happening here, if I have to do. And this was mainly from my children who said, right, Dad, your life comes first. And having said that, having a life policy or an insurance policy is paramount, because once you are diagnosed with these conditions, and if you have a good life policy, which I would recommend to everybody, it gives you a decent lump sum payout, which that fund is there for me should I need it in future. We all are going to die, but I for certain know that I'm going to die because there is something clock ticking. The first year was difficult, but thank goodness for the last 6-7 years plus, nothing. I have not even thought about it anymore. It's because my life is so normal, alhamdulillah, but I have become more aware of the timeline in my life. And a unique hoja to have CLL. As a dental practitioner, most, if not all, we are wet-handed dentistry. We work practically 50 to 60 hours wet-handed dentistry, and that has been the norm. Very active life, traveling maybe 4 to 6 times a year, and norms were, okay, I've been going to Hajj for so many years, over 20 years now. That's been a blessing. It hasn't stopped me. It was there, and since my diagnosis 8 years ago, I still continue. Nothing major. My life was full. I'm just working. It's just, I guess, I wouldn't say that it has changed, but just now I'm a bit more conscious that there's more to work. And I have changed my lifestyle in the sense that I gave up dentistry over 2 years ago, just under 2 years now, not due to disease, but due to shoulder pains and wear and tear. And I still work with charity organization. I do travel 6 to 8 times a year. So the activity is there, but I'm in a more relaxed mode. Stress, they say, like anything, stress can be positive, can be negative if you can handle it. And I don't think I'm one of the best persons to handle stress, but I'm learning, and it's never too late. So looking at how my life was before, very active like any other young person would be, desire to do things, achieve goals, have a family, have a community, worldwide things, and thanks to the network I have, people, been able to do a lot of good for the ummah, for the needy people. And this I talk is doing dental camps, eye camps, medical camps, be it in India, be it in Iraq, be it in Africa, elsewhere in the world. CLL is a disease which, because it's not so much known in our community, I would like still people to be aware that it could come. If it's come to me, there could be some people or some members of a community or anybody else who might have it. So to go to a doctor and have a regular blood check is very, very important. So don't give that on. There are many stages of CLL, and the symptoms are mainly, first is people will lose weight drastically, very many cold sweats at night, infections maybe regularly, if not once a week, at least once a month infection, swelling of the lymph nodes under your armpits, on the gonads area, in the abdomen, and being restless. And thankfully, I have none of them. The only thing is they check my blood cells, the white cells, which are the foolish cells. The white cells are produced in the bone marrow. Because there's so many white cells being produced, there's not enough of the red cells and the other good cells that the body needs. So these are the 4 or 5 major symptoms, and alhamdulillah, none of them is prevalent in my case. Tiredness, I would say now I've crossed over 60. So yes, I do feel a bit tired, and I've talked to the hematologist, and they say part of it is okay. As long as I don't have 3 or more of the symptoms, they're okay to keep me under WNW, which is wait and watch. So I go every 3 months for a blood test and see what it is. And as long as it is kept within the norms, sometimes the white blood cells spike up a lot, but I don't notice anything. However, it's just my travel to Hajj or to Karbala or to crowded people is not recommended, but I do go against my doctor's advice, and I'm still good. Because CLL symptoms are there, and if they're not so profound, the studies show that there is no need for intervention. Intervention can be through chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and other treatments which are in progress. So they have found that people who can live a normal life, there is no need to do any intervention. As long as these cells grow within a certain range, they've got the figures, I'm fine. And a couple of times it just spiked to the border where I should be going a treatment, and then it came back down to normality. So in a way, again, I'm just following the advice of these people who have got data, who have got science behind it. And a majority of the people with CLL can live up to 20 years without having any intervention or treatment. Cancer is wide variety, and people, when they hear cancer, first they don't want to know, and they want to feel sympathy for you, and they're afraid. It's both of them want to be insular. If I would tell anybody I got cancer, I would go with caution, and the one who is listening to me, they want sympathy, they think there's so much, but awareness. To talk about it, it's a disease like a flu. Certain diseases are invisible. Okay, I've got leukemia, but I'm as normal as anybody. You just have to be mindful. How do people take? Yes, I guess and I hope that through this program or series of programs, it will help people understand and be aware and talk about it, because it could come to anybody, any one of the forms of cancer. People are shy, but when I mentioned, those eyebrows raised, but because I don't talk much, it doesn't bother in my life. If I had a disease that was impairing my day-to-day, I would talk about it, people would be observant, but I'm quite good. People have their own fear. We call it false expectation appearing real, fear, F-E-A-R. People are afraid. Cancer, we think it is a killer. It does shorten your lifespan. So being fair, those who I come across are sympathetic. They don't know what to say. But yes, one of my very near and dear friends who found out only 3 years ago, while I've been having this condition for over 7 years, they were more upset that I didn't tell them. So some people who are your close people or somebody who you're close to would like to know. And maybe I have not talked enough about it, but I don't know. It's difficult to say. Last, when I came from Hajj, it took me 4 weeks to recover. So that was an alarm bell. And now when I came last year, I'm going to Hajj this year again, August the 7th or 27th July, sorry. And my son is already saying, Dad, you don't have to go. Again, is that love, the children-parent relationship. But looking at the bigger picture, no, I don't see any harm befalling upon me. I come from a very, very poor background, 10 children, where we left Zanzibar in 1964 as refugees. So today when I see things of refugees, be it in Syria, be it in Iraq, be it in Afghanistan, I can relate. So for me is payback time. So the thing that drives me is I've got all the time in the world. I've got the financial stability and security. I've got good health. So that keeps me going. And there are many people who are my peers, who are my icons. I've been fortunate that having dentistry as a background and having work, that was my main source of finance, bread and butter. We all work to put food on the table. But I was privileged and I was lucky that I had the good years early in my life where I could invest, and that investment now is paying up. So despite me not working as a dental practitioner, that stress or that element of finance is not there, and that makes life a lot easier that one goes out and works. But even when I was working actively 40-60 hours a week, I still had that drive in me to go out and do some charity work. And thanks to people who are mobilizing these dental camps and medical camps, and I'm just a small part into the bigger picture. I give talks to kind of motivate others, but I have mentioned, because I've given talks at the senior citizens, I've given talks to HED in Stanmore, I've given talks to some seminars. Appreciate time. It's a commodity that is diminishing commodity. So I just say, stay healthy, keep healthy, and it's never too late to change your lifestyle. And please seek medical advice. Like I said, for me, I know I've got CLL. It has played a major part in my life. I'm aware, I'm always conscious that there is end somewhere. Before I was a bit easygoing. I think we should all kind of talk about it, read about it, and work with Macmillan Support or any other charity organizations or any cancer, because our community is not insular to these diseases. We were not aware of them in Africa or India. Somebody would die, say, oh, there was fever in the brain, he had malaria here and he died, and it could have been other causes. So I would just in a nutshell say, we should be open about it, we should read, and we should interact with other organizations who look after, and because there's so many, after doing this, there are so many charity organizations that it's mind-boggling. When we look at the milestones is purely first, living Zanzibar at the age of 6, leaving Tanzania, coming for further education in Scotland in 1974, going to Canada. I was as I'm saying, so privileged that my family, my parents, my siblings encouraged me and others to go abroad and get education. Milestone of achieving being a dentist or a microbiology, which I'm both, is just academic. But the milestone is again living a good Islamic way of life, I would say, is most prominent. Everything in life, as we know, is just fun, it finishes. But no, today, alhamdulillah, I can say that me and some of the community members, we are encouraging people to kind of get away from the rat race of day-to-day work, creating some wealth, and so they can retire early and do some good for hereafter. And that is my biggest milestone now, is I'm being a tutor or a mentor to people within the community and outside the community. And the free time that I've got is very appreciated.